Welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. My name is Horst Lüning. I'm the senior taster of Whisky.com, and this is Ben, the master taster of Whisky.com. And today we have a coastal malt tasting.
Yes, we're gonna have 3 classic malts from the classic malt selection. I think you've already said something about that in the German take, that usually back in the days you only had classic malts and there were 6 of them.
Yes, and Talisker is one of them.
Yeah, is one of the
classic malts of Scotland.
Were pretty popular.
Yes.
And they increased the range, and they then had the selection of the classic malts. And our inspiration for this tasting was this tasting pack here, the Classic Malts Coastal Collection. And these are, there's a lock in the front, you have to open it. And there are 3 bottles in there, the same exact as these ones, and they are 0.2 liters. So it's a medium-sized pack, and it's pretty nice. You can find it.
A perfect gift.
A perfect gift for, But the coastal one is a bit more, I would say, advanced than the gentle. There's gentle, and the other one is
strong.
Strong. Yeah. The gentle is the most gentle and beginners friendly one, and the coastal is then a bit more rough, coastal, maritime flavors, and then the strong is just strong flavors.
So to give a little bit of history, the classic malt of Scotland were introduced in 1988, 1989, and they were the successors of the Acorn malt selection, which contained a Talisker 8 years of age. If you have one of those in a closed bottle, you're a wealthy person, really. So those old 8-year Talisker are long gone, and the 10-year-old Talisker then came in, and with his wonderful success of these 6 classic malts, which came from different regions, they later on, I think after the year 2000, a lot after the year 2000, they started the classic malt selection, and in that selection is the Clynelish as well as the Caol Ila as well in.
Mm.
These 3 whiskies, we've brought them into a sequence. We start with the Clynelish, then switch over to the Talisker, and then come to the final Caol Ila. They are 14 years of age, 10 years of age, and 12 years of age.
Yeah, so today they are all smoky, peaty smoky, but the Clynelish is infinitesimally small peat smoky. So it's, some people do taste the smoke, some people don't. It's barely tasteable. The Talisker, I would call it medium. Some people call it lightly peated. I would really go more for medium to even at the border to heavy. And the Caol Ila is a Islay malt, heavily peated, strong, smoky whiskey. Okay.
So this is the first tasting I'm in with after the cold season or over the summer. So you had one in between, a bourbon tasting, and now this is the start point of a sequence of tastings we will hold here until the holiday season, and in December we will have 3 left tastings, and in November 1, in October 1 as well. So the next one is going to be Delmore distillery tasting. Then we're going to have an Aberfeldy distillery tasting. Oh, did I miss one? Okay, you can go to Whisky.com/live, and there's a list on the right hand side of all the tastings that are up to coming. And there will be a tasting on the 22nd of December, the beginner's live tasting as every year. And on the 27th, there's the advanced live tasting as every year. And as soon as we have the bottles, we will also write them down. We're still finalizing steps of trying to find the right bottles for this year's live tastings. So now
should we dive into the map?
We're 5 minutes into the tasting, so this gives you time to synchronize with us and adapt everything.
This is as always, a map of Scotland, and today we are a bit more distributed. We're looking at a few coastal regions, and the first region we're going to look is the Northern Highlands. And in the Northern Highlands here at with the pot still shown is Clynelish, and the Clynelish is on the shore to the North Sea, and the North Sea it's still a sea, but it is not as rough as you would say the Atlantic coast, but it's the Northern Sea between Norway, Germany, and the British Isle.
Yeah,
and I've never been to Clynelish, so this is your photo.
Yeah, so I've been there. Oh, that's a long time ago, and the Clynelish distillery has a pretty interesting history because the bottle we've seen carries an age. A date of 1819, so quite old, but this is a young distillery. If you look at the still house with the big windows, that's from the 70s, and there had been a prior distillery there called Brora, and there had been lots of whiskies from Brora growing more expensive and more expensive as they were becoming older. And the last ones with 35 and 40 years of age, they sold for a few thousand, so the Brora. And then this distillery, I think, was called the New Brora, and then they said, no, that's mixing up. We call it Clynelish, and the Brora went over to the old houses, which are still there. If you have a look at the right building, I think there's the mash house and the fermenting room. There you see a pipeline going over to the right, and that pipeline is going down the hill to the warehouses of the old Brora distillery where the filling stations is, and there's the old Brora distillery, and that was refurbished over the last 3 years and went into production this year, 2021. So Brora is producing again and giving malt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Clynelish is but also a part of the blend industry.
Very much.
Yeah.
Very
so
much.
Johnny Walker,
J&B,
and I think there was another one, but no, never mind. Yeah, and it's a big distillery, so it has 6 pot stills, 3 spirit and 3 wash stills. And this here is a picture of it, and it's very interesting. You mentioned that the spirit stills are bigger than the wash stills.
Yeah, the stills in the back, those are the spirit stills, and the stills in the front are the wash stills. You can see that by the color of the motors, and with the window on the very top behind the Whisky.com logo. There you can see the window where you can see the wash boiling. So you can see definitely between the second and the third still that they are bigger, these pot stills, so the spirit stills. So I think they are running different time scales, so the wash still will be very, very fast, and so they probably fill 1.5 or 2, the outcome of 2 wash stills into 1 spirit still, and then they are going on. Yeah, I have no further details, but the size difference in size is significant.
Yeah, difference in sizes. They always tell you a little bit about the speed at which they are distilling. So probably they're distilling at a very low speed at the spirit still, because this is so big. Okay, so let's go for the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's put them down. A bit too large for our little cask table. So Clynelish is 14 years of age, 46% ABV, and
priced in the mid to upper 40s. Probably you might find it at 50 and 50 something in your region. I forgot myself. Oh, what a shame.
what a shame, yeah. So if you happen to have the Clynelish at your house, please write down what you taste in the glass or what you smell.
Big fan of the Clynelish GOT, Game of Thrones. 51%, excellent for blending. Oops, I think Clynelish for me is a single malt, and they started a little bit late bottling that as a malt, and then they brought out a second Clynelish as a distillery edition, which means with a finishing in it. But I think they did not succeed in selling more of those bottles, so I think they stopped producing that. So this might be gone. Probably there's some bottles left. So this is quite a unique whiskey available. There are no older expressions, no other particular bottles of that. That's a friendly but coastal malt. Well, we know we named that tasting a coastal malt tasting. Yeah, means you have the feeling that there is the smell of the sea, of the waves, of the wet tang. So the sea in it, but as well there's the light flowery, light fruitiness in this as well.
Yeah, definitely. Is a strange malt because it's floral. You have flowers in it, and it does also have a bit of an aromatic, coastal, maritime note to it. And yes, I do have a little bit of smoke. That's up to interpreting. Interpreting these iodine note. Is it really a peat smoke? Is it just a little bit of an aromatic note? I don't know. I say it's a little bit of smokiness in there.
There is a question from IC86 at Horst Lüning. You're looking well. I hope you're feeling well. Also, yes, I do. So what you see is I've lost weight. I worked a lot, losing weight, and I lost over 10 kilos, over 20 pounds. So you're seeing that, and I'm feeling very, very
10
good.
kilos is 22 pounds.
22 pounds, yeah, okay. So, Slanger. A big mouthful, wonderful explosion. This is a Mitch. I have it. So, wonderful big mouthful and oakiness, little spiciness, not too sharp, spiciness in it, giving a wonderful big mouthful, sweetness appearing, brown sugar, wonderful, lightly oily. Oh, big one, very good.
It's much more hefty in the taste than it is in the nose. So yeah, you do have an oiliness, but you also do have a strong, heavy, intensive note with a lot of oak, with a lot of a little bit of a leathery note, and so the floral notes, they are there, but they are a very faint note indeed. And in terms of smokiness, still a very, very faint note.
Yeah, if now we're tasting it a second time, and in the moment I feel there's no smokiness in it. Might be this is the aromatic note from the North Sea.
Kilo Romeo has it in his glass. Flowery, fresh malt glass, warm sea, that was the nose. And also some surgery notes with a little light smoke, also the nose. And then he says leathery oak nose, very nice catch, starting to like it. Yeah, for me it's a hefty one. And now in the second time I nose it, I do have a bit of that wax note. That was a discussion going on before. Do you have a wax note, or do you have?
I have that oily note.
Oily note. Yeah, oily. It is definitely oily. Also in the taste.
And I have some caramel now as well. This light sweet note with caramel. Yeah.
For me, the sweet note is also very faint. I don't have much sweetness in the glass. I like it.
Did you kill the insect? Yeah. Very good.
But I think there's another one flying around. I think they're breeding outside. We have this, the window open to not burn in here, but yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, what to say about Clynelish? Well, it's not one of the cheaper expressions of the classic malts selection. It is more or less a rare one, not very well available because it's not sold that often. The distillery does not have the focus on the single malt. And if you're a collector and looking for a bottle of every distillery, then this is a must. So this is the only really expression of the Clynelish. Yeah.
Good. So the next stop we're gonna take is at the Isle of Skye, and here we have a close-up picture from the west coast of the British Isle, or Great Britain, and this is one of the British Isles. It is the Isle of Skye, and here we have the pinpoint is the Talisker distillery. And the Talisker distillery is a distillery, I think we already had it in the islands tasting, and that is not directly at the coast, but at
Yeah, I have been there. I tell the story.
How do you call it? An arm? Oh, you tell the story.
Yeah, there is a saltwater lock going into the Isle of Skye from the western shore, and on the inner lock, which runs parallel to the coast, there on the western side, the Talisker distillery lies and faces the saltwater lock, but not the rough ocean. So they're doing a lot of advertisement on the card box with lots of spray and grist and everything.
Made by the sea.
Made by the sea. But of course, it would be too rough on the outside in the winter storms. So they are, of course, on the lee side of that lock or distillery or the mountain range. And they have quite a tide there, so you have sometimes very shallow water or falling dry before in front of the distillery. And there's a wonderful little shop in there with old instruments showing how the pagoda was built and everything. So this is a wonderful city, and I went there by a cruise ship from the Hapag-Lloyd company, and I was a referee on that ship, so I got the passage for free, and we visited all the islands and all the distilleries up there. And then all the people were fed up with distilleries, and they stayed in Portree, the capital of this Isle of Skye, and with friends, with a couple, we took a taxi and went out there, had a wonderful tour. Nobody was there. It was really quiet, and afterwards we split the taxi fare in two, and everything was fine. And the next picture shows the stills of Talisker, which look quite different to normal stills. Well, you have a pot still, you have a reflux bowl, but you have these strange formed line arms. They are running slightly downward, and then they have a sharp turn going perpendicular downside until they have another 90-degree turn outside through the wall. And you see a pipe running from that turn immediately in front of going out, which runs back to the still. That's a reflux pipe where you can reflux part of the condensed raw whiskey back into the still, and with that you can get a better reflux and a better distillation bringing that whiskey again into the distillation process. So from there it goes outside into the warm tubs, where a spiral of copper pipe cools the vapors and getting out the raw whiskey, which is then put into the spirit vat, receiver vat. Yeah, that's in the next picture. Or is there none? I think we're through with that. There's this new package of the Talisker. There had been an older one, for a long time. It appeared the same as well, the blue color in it, and then they switched to this orange color and the blue and the gold and everything, and the brown from the coast, which there is typically black. So it doesn't fit that exactly. So they changed it. If you have an old one and that isn't opened, probably you keep it. It might be becoming a collector's item, because all those relatively cheap Talisker whiskies, they are priced in the mid-30s to 40. They were most often consumed. So there are not many of the very old whiskies available or still there. They're gone. They are drunk. So have a look for them. It might be a good investment. Yeah, so we're through with the talk about Talisker. So have a taste.
Mm-hmm. What I like about Talisker is that they have a very distinct distillery character. So if you have the Taliskers that are not as old, let's exclude the. Do they have a 25 and I think a 30 and 40 or something? No, is it?
25 and 30. They have an 18 as well.
Yeah, and maybe at some point they did.
What to tell about that? So this is not a single bottle. This is a crowd of bottles. So they developed the brand from the single bottle into a bunch of bottles.
Yeah, and they always have that character of a very spicy, medium smoked whiskey. And that's very distinct about Talisker. Not many distilleries go that path.
Mm-hmm. So there is a Portree, Talisker Portree, no age statement, finished in a port wine barrel. Very, very good. There's the Talisker Skye without an age statement, which is quite something like an entry malt, but sometimes it's more expensive than the well-known 10-year-old, because they have these big volumes, big numbers of bottles sold. There had been cask strength. There had been, there is of course the distillery edition, distiller's edition, which has an Amontillado sherry cask finish with the same age and ABV, and so there's a lot of different Taliskers. So you can have new Talisker bottles for years, and they all have, as you said, this distinct character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody who has the Talisker in his glass, please write down what you are nosing right now in the Talisker 10.
Gustavo Euclides, very ugly new Talisker label. That's typical. Every new label is ugly. Definitely, everyone says a new label is ugly, and then wait 10 years, and then there comes a new label, and then people say ugly. It's an ugly label. So you get used to, of course.
Okay.
Slange. Yeah. First smell. Distinct smokiness, and typically people ask how much ppm. So this depends on my mood, because this is not as strong as the Islay malts are, but it's stronger than these lightly smoked malts from the Highland and other islands are. So this is, from my point of view, somewhere between 20 and 30. The Islay malts start at 35. So this is well below the Islay style, and it's 20 to 30, and sometimes I feel it's 20, sometimes 30. Yeah. There's smell from the sea, and a light citrus note. After some time, after this, you're becoming used to the smoke. Little saltiness probably. Yeah.
So someone said something. For me, it's a medium smokiness. I like it because it's not overwhelming, but it's also not hiding, and it's very balanced. It's very lightly sweet with a good amount of, I would say, oakiness and a little bit of spiciness also going on. And someone said...
Flurbrixeray.
That was actually a really good comment, because we said Slunge in the German take, and it's not Gaelic, so you shouldn't say Slunge.
Skull. But who is new to the channel, coming from the English language countries, Talisker is pronounced on the first syllable. Every Gaelic distillery is pronounced on the second one, Clynelish, Lagavulin, Bo More. So they are pronounced on the second one, Talisker on the first, because it's Nordic. And there is some heritage of Nordic culture up there in Scotland, because some of the islands up there, I think it was not the Orkneys, but the, how are they called, the next one?
Shetlands.
The Shetlands. They were given with a princess to a former king up there, so they went from the Nordic possession into the Scottish possession, and a lot of Nordic names survived. Yeah.
So, skål.
Skål. Here the question arises, as every time, chili or pepper. So a lot of people say a chili catch, some say it's sharper pepper, but it's definitely a sharp note in this one. This is no alcoholic sharp note, but a spicy sharp note. But in the aftertaste, there's mouth-watering, or it's cladding your mouth. The smokiness is everywhere. There's in the back a little bit of sweetness as well, and of course maltiness. Yeah.
For me, it depends on the day. Today I would say, spicy, but not this sharp chili note, but I would say it's peppery. Definitely peppery. And I like it because it's you have a smokiness in there, and it's not overwhelming. It has a lot of other flavors that are very present in there. You have a little bit of a malty note, you have a good amount of spiciness with that peppery touch to it. You have a smoky note, you do have oaky notes, a little bit of sweetness going on. The one thing I would be missing would be flowery or grassy touches.
Now the fresh fruitiness moves over to a drier fruitiness. This is Talisker as I know it for years, for 25 years, 27 years. Yeah.
But I think they will just keep going the same as they do all
next
the time.
100 years.
To the next 100 years. It's just a very nice recipe. I'd really like to know how they get it so spicy without having it being too rough. But that will probably be a mixture between fast distilling, reflux, and just the perfect match with the the warm tops on the outside, because the warm tops are also be known to make the whiskey a bit spicier.
Yeah. Okay. Next.
So the next up will be the distillery of Caol Ila, and Caol Ila is a distillery on the Isle of Islay. This time we have a distillery that is directly at the shore, and it is not at the North Sea, it's not directly to the Atlantic, it's at the shore to the Sound of Islay. And Caol Ila also means Islay Sund, and that means the Sound of Islay. And here you can see the distillery, and the big glass front is facing to the Sound of Islay, and there are the pot stills, and this very iconic iconic still room. And let's have a look at the stills. And here you see the stills, and in the background you see the Paps of Jura, and before that you see the Sound of Islay. And that sound is very interesting because depending on if the tide, it is actually flowing in one or the other direction. And also I think they just set up a new tidal power plant on the water.
A water turbine with big blades like these windmills you see, but a little bit smaller in the Sound of Islay, which produces power by either going north or south. So they are working both directions.
Yes, and the thing is, also the Sound of Islay is very interesting because there are a lot of naval action there. So the British Royal Navy is going up and down, and it's very interesting to navigate there, except for the northern side of Jura. There's the Corrie Wracken there.
Yeah. So when I visited the distillery first, then we came to Port Ellen, onto the island, and we left through Porter's Cake, and then you pass the island, you pass the distillery by the Sound of Islay, and I was able to take pictures from the sea of the distillery, so looking nice from the water, and you can see all those pictures we've taken there, and of your visit as well in our whiskey database, which you find on Whisky.com. There's this blue register there. Yeah, Caol Ila is a whiskey, 12 years old, 43% ABV, and priced in the lower 40s to mid 40s. So it's not too expensive, and it's an Islay malt. So this is one of the entry malts into Islay. There are older expressions available. There's an 18-year-old as well as a 25-year-old, which is not always available. And the 18-year-old went up and down in price extremely. So going up and down 30%, no problem. And there is a distiller's edition here with a sherry cask maturation. I'm not quite sure which sherry cask they use for the Caol Ila, but it's there as well with 43%. And in 2000 or around the year 2000, the distillery, which produced completely for the blended whiskey industry, switched over having its own single malt whiskey, and therefore they stopped providing whiskies to independent bottlers. So then from that time on, the supply for Caol Ila for the independent bottlers went down and prices went up, and this was good for the Caol Ila distillery label for making ground by being not that expensive. And it established to be a really a brand in the market, so they earned their place in the classic malt selection.
But luckily the Caol Ila distillery now is very keen on selling barrel casks to independent bottlers and different.
Yeah, they started after the financial crisis, so there's something good in financial crisis. Malt whiskies are becoming more available. So when there had been these tolls between Scotland and the US, so more of the Caol Ila flew into Europe than into the US. So good for us.
Yeah. So, yeah, the Caol Ila. It is also a very big distillery. That's why they were kind of forced to get back into the cask selling business, as they do have 3 big wash stills with 19,000 liters of volume and 3 big spirit stills with 12,500 liters of capacity, and they're producing a huge amount of output of at least 3 million liters per year, and that is quite extensive.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Peat smoke.
Yeah.
Isla peat smoke.
Isla peat smoke.
Who had suggested something different? There are fruity notes in it, fruity citrus notes. So this is not too old, keeping a bit of its distillery character, fresh. And the smoke has a medicinal note. Phenolic. Yeah, Isla style, really.
Yeah, Isla style. So, yeah, I would say 45 ppm, definitely. That one doesn't hide his smoke at all, and it's wonderful, but it's different to the others. This one is a bit more fresh, a bit more floral, has a little bit of a citrus aroma, and a very typical Isla malt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Slange.
Slange?
This time slange. Nicholas MD85, friend of planes, McDonnell Douglas. He writes Caol Ila 12. On the nose, I get wood smoke, some phenolic notes, and the smell of smoked meat. That I have too. I could never find those marine notes. Yeah, I think there are very, very few marine notes in it, as if at all. So the Talisker and the Clynelish might have more marine notes in it than the Caol Ila. The Caol Ila, when I tasted it, has some oiliness, some sweetness in it, and this direct hit from the sea isn't there. So it's more maltiness, more citrus note, but these marine notes, I do not find it really.
I do like it. It has a very distinct smokiness. It is a very smoky whiskey, but it does have a little bit of a gentle touch to it. So it's a little bit fresh. It's not as oily as anything, if I'm live or not, but
still delay.
I think there might be a delay, but we didn't have any technical issues this severe for a long time, haven't we? So can you reload the site? Maybe we are back online.
Back again, he says.
Back again, nice. Okay.
So
we've been with the Caol Ila, and I've just found it a bit more refreshing than the other ones, although it has a really, really big smoky note.
Now we lost a minute or two. Now we're back again with a picture. Quite a delay in it, and the aftertaste had gone now. So the aftertaste of the Caol Ila is not as long as the intense aftertaste of the Talisker, 10 years old, is. So now we have the big question: in which sequence? What is the best?
So the sweetest is definitely in the Clynelish, as I can count now 2 flies in it. So it attracts flies, so it is sweet. Although I have to say, I don't find them any of them particularly sweet. The Clynelish is lightly sweet, but the other ones I would say are nearly not sweet at all. Maybe the Caol Ila a little bit.
Yeah, typically the sweetness is covered behind that hefty smoke. I find the Caol Ila a little bit more oily than the others, and I have a sequence for them.
I have the same sequence I had in the German take.
Me too. So for me, the best is the Clynelish, the second is the Talisker, and the third is the Caol Ila. Why I find these the Clynelish more balanced between aroma, taste, and aftertaste. And today I'm not a friend of a too hefty smoke, so this degraded a little bit the Caol Ila for me. And the Talisker is a wonderful, so it's a 1.1 behind this. So it's very, very close to it. And the Caol Ila makes a second. Yeah. So they're close together from the quality, I think.
For me, my rating today is 2, 3, 1. So Talisker, Caol Ila, Clynelish. I just found the Talisker. No, the Talisker. I find it very, very nice because it's such a wonderful balance between spiciness and smokiness. I just love that balance. And then, Caol Ila is awesome. And the Clynelish was a bit too heavy for me today. If you're in for something really hefty, really strong, really dark, then the Clynelish might be in for you.
I find the Clynelish has more different notes in it, and the others depend very much on the smoke.
Yeah, definitely.
So, this is it for today. We have to announce the next one.
The next one will be on the 8th of October 2021, so in not even a month time. And you will find it on Whisky.com/live at 8 p.m. Central European Standard Time. Is that already winter time? No.
I think so.
So
end of October.
End of October. So if you have any trouble to find it in your time zone, just go to Whisky.com/live, and when it's up, you just click on it, and it will tell you when it will air in your time zone at what date. Then we will go to the Aberfeldy live tasting in December, and then we will have the beginners live tasting on the 26th of December, and then the 27th will be the advanced live tasting. I think that was it. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up.
And we apologize for the interruption.
Sorry for the interruption, and see you next time. Vielleicht sagen sollen, dass es